Welcome, or shall I say welcome back to Sundae Sermon, a celebration of Black folks. My name is Kellie Richardson and I use she, her pronouns, and I am thrilled to be your guide today. I'm a poet and mixed media artist, and my deepest intent is to have my work really provoke feelings and conversations for healing and liberation, especially that of Black folks. And it's why I'm so honored and excited to be here with y'all today. I'm calling in from the land of the Puyallup people, which generations of settlers have now come to call Tacoma, Washington. There's been no process of truth or sincere reconciliation with our Native nations. And acknowledgement of this is really just the start. Those of us who benefit from the settling of land can continue our journey by learning history and educating ourselves so that we can do our part to support and stand in solidarity with present-day tribes. We also know that lack of truth and reconciliation stretches beyond our treatment of Native Americans. The body, breadth, and economy of our communities was made and built by the descendants of enslaved Africans. The forced removal and internment of Chinese and Japanese Americans, forced and exploited labor of Latinx farm workers, as well as the criminalization and erasure of our gay, lesbian, and transgender communities. I'm both beneficiary and byproduct of these systems of oppression. And it's a tension that I continuously hold and believe some of y'all here might relate to that experience. And I want to just take a moment to ground us in the reality of this paradox and this persistent disharmony of this thing that we call justice and solidarity. We want to take a minute to just call y'all forth, call you forth just as you are. We are gathering with and without titles. We are gathering as survivors and thrivers, bouncing between healing and hurting. We represent all manner of formal and informal education. We got the street smarts. We got hard-earned skills, training. We have tradition. And we have vast lived experiences. And so as we move through our time together today, we want to invite you to just ground yourselves in the richness of the collective that is on our session, those that are watching, those that haven't watched yet. But ground yourself in the richness and recognize that it is exactly the differences among us that make love and miracles and learning and hope possible. So we're here to really celebrate Black folks in this 6-part virtual series. And today we are specifically celebrating Black women. And that's however you spell women. The EN, the XN, the YN. I know enough to know that we want to be as inclusive as possible in how we frame the term women today. Most importantly, who's got their ice cream? I don't have mine with me because I thought that would be awkward. Y'all don't want to see me killing my ice cream. It would just gross you out. But I have been loving the Talenti Southern Butter Pecan right now. I intend on slamming my face into a container as soon as this is over. And I hope you all have yours out and are celebrating with us today. We are going to reclaim joy despite these unprecedented times and really just celebrate, taking the time to celebrate. Where focus goes, energy flows. How many of y'all have heard that? And so basically whatever we focus on is going to expand. So let's take this intentional time to focus on the magic, magnitude, and wonder of Black women. Who's down? I hope you are, because it's about to go down. Sundae Sermon is a partnership between Washington State Parks and Golden Bricks Events with additional support from our generous sponsors, Seattle Audubon, Washington State Parks Foundation, the Wilderness Society, Washington Trails Association, National Endowment for the Arts, Conservation Northwest, and For Culture. So drop in the comments section below here in YouTube where you are watching from. And we're ready to get this celebration started. To start us off, today we are highlighting Federation Forest State Park. I want to take a moment to also lift up some very special women, elders in my life. I want to lift up Onita Felton and Tessa Williams, both my grandmothers, both in the spiritual realm now. Despite navigating hardships that I will never know, thanks to them, they still taught me how to center my life on possibility, on defining my own path, defining my own self-worth, and just looking dope in the process. I mean, for real, can we just take a minute to acknowledge the timeless swag and style of Black women and the way that that translates into our power, our influence, and our legacy. So let's kick off our time with a quick virtual tour of Federation Forest State Park. Let's take it away, Allison.
Hi everyone, my name is Allison. I'm coming to you today from the Washington State Parks Foundation. I'm so excited to be able to share with you guys an awesome resource on our website. It's our virtual tours, and they allow you to, you guessed it, virtually explore our parks. We have so many beautiful Washington State parks, and we are lucky enough to have an incredible collection of virtual tours that give you a really realistic experience. So I'm going to take you guys through. We are on the home page of our Washington State Parks Foundation website. You can find us at waparks.org. And the first thing you see is the option to take a virtual tour. So we're going to click on that. And here you're going to find a huge list of state parks with virtual tours available for you to explore. I really love it. It's a fantastic resource. We've also got our retreat centers, interpretive centers, vacation houses, just a lot of different places that you have the option to explore virtually. So what we're going to do today, because we're celebrating Federation Forest, is click on Federation Forest, and it's going to take us to the initial page, which is the picnic area. It's really beautiful, and you're going to see that the screen is going to start automatically rotating us. It gives you the option to either have it rotate on its own without you, or you can stop it and manually drag the screen. This allows you to explore at your own pace. You can click around as you wish. If you're like me and you get a little motion sick, maybe not letting it rotate too quickly is better. But it's a really fantastic way to be able to look around and zoom in and see details. I just love it. So I'm going to introduce you guys to a little bit of the tools here. Here in the top corner is the virtual tours homepage, and this will take you straight back to that page we just were at with all of their virtual tours. This is the scene list button, so it'll make this list of scenes on the right completely disappear. So if you're trying to do a little bit more an immersive experience without the scene list there, this is really helpful. This is going to take you to a map of the park, and then this info button down here is going to take you to the park's individual page on our website, which is going to tell you a little background on the park, as well as activities available, brochures, maps, and even links to do camping reservations. So it's really convenient, it's all in one place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you guys around. You see this like yellow and blue hiking man icon, and it's going to be a fantastic way to click around and virtually walk around the park. If you click on it, you will move essentially in the direction that's pointing, and it's a great way to walk around and see what's going on. You can see this like beautiful autumnal scene here. It's September, folks, officially, so this is a really beautiful way to sometimes maybe explore the virtual tours in another season even, right? I mean, right now it's fall, but it's just a really beautiful way to see what the park is going to look like at different times of year. What I'm going to do is take you guys here to the Interpretive Center. And I am so excited for today's program because it's a celebration of women. I want to give a particular shout out to all of the female park rangers, commissioners, everyone who works within the park system, and also our female visitors. Thank you for coming and supporting and visiting and donating to the state parks. The Interpretive Center in particular is a really great way to learn a little bit more about how women have contributed to our Washington State Parks history as a system of public lands. And as you can see, there's different panels around the room that you can read and learn more. So I highly encourage, when you get a chance, to come visit this place. It's really, really great and really informative. And we even have the little hiking man icon within the Interpretive Center to give you a better glimpse of everything that's available to you. But it's really cool. You can walk around and basically get to explore it like no one else is here. And I'll just click around really quickly to show you guys the other scenes, but it's all identified here on the right side. You just choose where you want to go. It'll take you there. Click on the little hiking man icon to take you on a little trip. And that's pretty much it. That's our virtual tours. I really hope you guys find a way to explore on your own time. All of our virtual tours on our website are available to you. They're really, really fantastic resources. You can even, this is super cool, look up and down. And I love this because you can look up and just see how incredibly tall those trees are, as well as looking down at the ground. And it's these small details that just make the virtual tours really, really incredible. It's also fantastic for if you are trying to assess the terrain before you visit. So if you want to plan ahead and know just how much of an incline you're looking at, what kind of ground you're looking at, this is a really fantastic way to plan. And also if you have had a really fantastic trip and you just don't have the opportunity to get out there right now, this is a really great way to also look back and remember and reminisce on those great times that we've had in the parks. So I hope you guys all enjoy the rest of the program. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And I hope you get a chance to explore our virtual tours. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you so much, Allison. And thank you to Washington State Parks Foundation for creating such a great tool. If you do get out to Federation Forest State Park or any other park, please do so responsibly. Plan ahead by checking out the virtual tour tool and practice social distancing. COVID is indeed real, and it does still disproportionately impact our communities of color. Also, don't forget to purchase your Discovery Pass. If you don't have one, Washington State has a number of free park days in which you don't need a Discovery Pass. Their next free park day is September 13th. We also know and acknowledge that the cost can be a barrier when there's no free day. So after every Sunday sermon, we're giving away one Discovery Pass. Take a moment to tell us what you thought of today's event, and you will be entered in a chance to win a free Discovery Pass. The survey link will be shared at the end of the video. Let's get back to the program. Earlier this summer, there was the first ever nationwide Black Birders Week. It was awesome. And so we asked two amazing Washington birders to talk about their experience as Black women birders. So let's go to the park and hear from Etta and Kinte. Take it away.
I'm Etta Cozy, and I don't have a favorite bird. What I do like are seasonal birds. If it's the spring or fall, I like the shorebirds. If it's fall and winter, I like the hawks. So I really don't concentrate on a particular species.
On the right side of your binoculars, right above the eyepiece, is another focus piece. Yes. So at that point, when you have both of your eyes open and you're looking at that spot, you should see a clear image of one thing. If you need to make adjustments with the whole binoculars, like I was saying about making sure you get one image, you can do that now as well. Hi, my name is Kente Bryant. I am the former education director at Seattle Audubon in Seattle, Washington. I currently work for a nonprofit in Seattle called PEPS, Program for Early Parent Support, and I'm the education director there now. Well, my favorite bird, I think, of all time is the blue-footed booby, which is not a bird that you would see here in Washington. They are indigenous to the Galapagos Islands, although you can see them as far north as Mexico, which is where I actually saw them for the first time. So, Etta, how did you get started in birding?
It started in 2004. I went to Fort Worth, Texas to babysit my one-year-old grandson. And I would walk the dike along the river and I saw these birds. And I was there for 2 weeks and I came home a birder. I was just passionate about them.
Yes. All right.
So how did you get started?
I got started really when I moved to Seattle and began working at Seattle Audubon in 2002. Before that, I was interested in animals, mostly mammals, honestly, mostly sea mammals. But after working at Seattle Audubon, for about 9 months, we did our first birdathon fundraiser as a staff, and we took the day and went birding. And I think it was after that and seeing all of the different birds and paying attention sort of catapulted me into birding at that point. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
What has been your favorite thing since you've been birding since 2002, roughly?
My favorite thing has been having an opportunity to be outdoors, but in a way that's not just going to the forest. I think a lot of times growing up even, and I grew up in Colorado, I was a Girl Scout, so I spent a lot of time in the woods, camping and things like that. And so as a kid, never really paying attention to the birds. But then learning about birding during my time working at Seattle Audubon, and also realizing that birds are maybe one of the only animals you can see anywhere on the planet, and realizing that even walking outside in an urban setting, there is a large diversity of different types of birds that are easily accessible to just about anybody if you pay attention. So I think that was probably the thing that I liked most in that time period. So what about you? What has been the thing that you've liked the most after becoming a birder?
Well, I've gotten to see most of Washington, a lot of Washington that I would not have gone to
Right.
birding. And I've traveled a lot. I've gone to different countries to see birds. I've met a lot of wonderful people in the process. And I didn't have a community before I started birding. Now I have a community and I have friends, and doing COVID has been a lifesaver for me. But yeah, I love it, and it's been a wonderful experience.
So you mentioned your community of birders. What local connections or communities, other birding communities are you associated with?
About 7 years ago, I started a birding program for the seniors Parks Department, and we had about 40 people on that list, and I did that until about 2017, and then after that, I formed another group. I disbanded that group, And it's a group of 12, 13 women and that I like. I handpicked them. And we bird once a month, and we go to lunch, and we have a great time. We go to Canada, we go to the ocean. We just have a lot of fun. And so I really like that. I'm a member of Seattle Audubon, which I treasure. Seattle, East Side Audubon. I used to belong to Portland Audubon, and I adopted a little, actually it was a vulture. And so I've done things like that, and it's fun. And I also go to like conferences. I'm a part of WAS, which is Washington Ornithology Group, and also Western Field Ornithology. I go to their conferences. So what about you?
Well, you know, I don't have any formal community that you, some of the things that you mentioned, which all sound really great. I was on the board for about a year and a half of the Washington Ornithological Society back in about 2014 to 2016, I believe. But otherwise, I just have a lot of sort of friendships with my friends who most of them were connected with me at Seattle Audubon. And so when we decide to go birding, it's generally a connection of people like that. But I'm sort of an honorary member of Seattle Audubon, I believe, right now. But other than that, I don't really have structured communities like it sounds like you have, which is great. Yes. Tell me what you thought about this year's, I think this was sort of the inaugural Black Birders Week on social media.
I think it's a great thing. There's Blacks Outdoors, there's another group. And so Seattle Parks Department had them in, I think last year, did bird walks for them. So I offered my services. I said I would be willing to go out with them once a month or whatever. And so I think it's a great thing to have more people of color birding. And it's a wonderful activity for children. I think it's one of the greatest things, I think, to keep kids out of trouble. If they get connected to nature, they just absorb it. And when I go on Western Field ornithology trips, there's all these 12 and 13s and 14-year-old kids who are just super birders. It's just wonderful to see. So we can do that. I think we should do more of that. We should encourage our kids to participate in nature activities.
Yes.
And you?
Well, again, it was interesting that the inaugural week for the Black Birders on social media happened about, I think it was probably a week or so after the incident in Central Park with the black man and the woman who was quite uncomfortable being in the park with him, obviously. And so I'm not sure if the two were connected, but it sort of came up at the same time. And I thought that as somebody who has been a lover of nature for a long time and worked in the environmental education field, I thought that that was a great way to a great use of social media of highlighting this part of the Black community that doesn't get highlighted very well, and often being the only Black person outdoors with binoculars looking at birds. And it was a nice way to see other people around the country who are also birders, who also are Black. And so I thought it was really great. I participated as much as I could. I posted a few pictures. I went birding that week just in my neighborhood and posted some pictures of birds. And I thought it was great that they were connected with other organizations that I follow on social media, including Outdoor Afro and some of those different organizations as well. So I thought it was really great. And I think it's, like you're saying, with youth and children, you know, one of the things that I remember as a kid is you're always sort of looking for a reflection of yourself in all of these different places, media, wherever they might be. And I think this is a great opportunity to reflect that to kids who we know are all a lot on social media, and for them to see that this is something that they can also do. And I agree that I think that getting kids outdoors in this sort of positive way and a positive interaction with the outdoors is a great benefit to them growing up. And kids are so great at birding if they're into it. They are really good at birding by ear and spotting birds. So it's always great to have an enthusiastic child when you go birding if they're totally into it. So yes.
That was one of the things the way I met you is through the fun program,
Yes.
Finding Urban Nature.
Yes.
And I don't know how many schools we went to, but it was fun to get the kids hooked into
Yes.
thinking about nature.
Right.
And you were a good representative of that.
Well,
I
thank you,
enjoyed
and
that,
so were
working
you.
with
I really appreciate that you volunteered for that program. So yes.
I'm still doing it.
Oh, great!
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah.
Okay. How has COVID affected your birding?
Well, I think I know that in the first couple of weeks after we had the governor shut the state down and we were sort of quarantined to our homes, there was the realization of the lack of the noise pollution that we get from cars and other things, and the birds, and it kind of happened right at the very beginning of our spring migratory, when the birds start migrating. And so in some ways I think it was great because you could hear all of these birds that I don't know that without really working at it in an urban environment you would not necessarily hear. So one of the things that I was able to do during the quarantine is go for walks just about every day, and so I think it kind of increased my neighborhood birding at that point, just because they were around, you could see them, you could hear them really well, and then they were showing up on my balcony of my apartment because my neighbor that just moved in had a feeder, so I was able to see a lot of other birds that way. So, I mean, as much as COVID has kind of been this cloud, it has been a bit of a bright spot in the birding, just in that I was able to kind of see and hear a lot more birds than I thought. The downside of it was, and how it impacted, is because we were at home where I work, which is right adjacent to a park, I missed out on some of those birds that are some of my springtime favorites, like western tanagers, and you and I were talking earlier and mentioned warblers. Like, I think I maybe saw one warbler this spring, which is not, great. So yeah, kind of a benefit both ways in that way. And what about you? How has COVID impacted your birding?
I've missed my friends.
Yeah.
I just really, really enjoyed spending a day with them and planning a trip. And so that's the biggest drawback is that I haven't been able to do that. And it kind of stimulated me to read more because I had these interaction with people, and I was always reading magazines or books or trying to get better at some species. And so I kind of stopped doing that. But what I did get involved with was a University of Washington student was doing some research.
Yes.
And so from April until the end of, I think June or July,
Yeah.
I would bird several times in my yard for 10 minutes. And so that was fun because one morning a group of cackling ducks geese flew over my house, and I heard them and I thought someone's dog was barking. And then I saw them and I was so excited. And so one of my favorite things is to be aware of what the crows are doing. And I've seen lots of things, eagles and red-tailed hawks flying in my neighborhood because of the hawks, because of the crows, because they keep up so much noise. The other thing is that I am in my yard more, and so I hear the birds. I don't feed them anymore. I don't have my feeders out, but I can hear what's going on in the neighborhood. I found nests. One of the robins has a nest under my neighbor's patio, and I've seen that. Recently there is a merlin in my neighborhood.
Wow.
And so hearing it and seeing it was wonderful. So I've made some adjustments, but I'm enjoying it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this particular event is around celebrating Black women, and both of us as Black women birders, as we might identify ourselves. Tell me what that means to you, to be a Black woman birder.
I am a birder first. So before I went to retire, which was at the end of May, I went online because someone advised me to go online and see what things birders were doing. And I went online, and ABA was having a conference in Reno. And so I called my husband and I said, I want to go to this conference in September. And he said, okay. And so I signed up and I went. And I was more worried about what to wear at dinner than the fact that I knew nothing about birds. And one of the good things about birders, they like to take people under their wing and show them and teach them. And so my race really has never been a problem. I might get a strange look every now and then from someone, but I'm a good birder. I like sharing what I know. I reciprocate. If someone is having a problem or learning something, I encourage them, I teach them, I do whatever I can to so that they enjoy the activity as well as I do, as much as I do. So it hasn't been a really big problem. I just go. My love for birds take me to wherever I want to go. If I travel abroad by myself, I just go. I just do it. It's not a big problem. So, and you? What's your experiences?
Ooh, I'm sorry. I got distracted by a bird. Okay. My experiences. So, I would say that, being a Black woman is part of my life. So that's not necessarily impacted my birding, except that I don't see very many other Black women birding. So that would probably be the biggest thing. And as I kind of mentioned earlier about about wanting to be somebody who is a reflection to young girls, maybe who may have who may either have the exposure or not have the exposure, but to see someone outside doing this that they can identify with, I think is what's a good benefit of me enjoying birding and being Black and being a woman. I have had experiences being out birding, not anything that's sort of outright negative, but second glances, or if I see someone birding with equipment and I come up and ask them a question, and there is a bit of a hesitation, but in reality, I think all birders have that initial hesitation because they want to make sure you're actually a birder and not just somebody who has questions. So even though I've had those experiences, I think it is I am very honored, and I feel very blessed that I was asked to be a part of this and to be a part of it with you, because I respect you as a birder and I know that you are a great birder. And so in that, we are a generation apart, and for me, looking at you and seeing this is like an honor for me. So in that way, seeing you as a Black woman birding, as much as you are a birder first, you still reflect me, and I appreciate that. So
I enjoy seeing Black people birding, and I go to conferences and I see us there,
yes.
and I'm happy that happens, but we're all just the love of birds.
Yes.
It means more than all the other stuff, and
Right.
we take the risk. If we're uncomfortable, that's too bad. It's just you just want to see that bird. You want to enjoy what the habitat and what he's doing,
Yes.
and it's like you put up with a lot of stuff to get what you want.
Yeah,
So,
and I
that's
think
life.
that just as Black people in this country, we've always put up with
Mhm.
a lot of stuff. So maybe it's not much different, and we just do what you got to do to get what you want. So
Yeah, last September, I think it was September or November, at the Sunday service, I met Kellie. and who lives in Lake Sammamish, and she wanted to bird with me. And I said, oh, you know, the group I'm with are seniors, and I felt so bad that I didn't stop and say, I'll take the time and bird with you. Yeah. So we reconnected, and we're going to bird. We birded in North Bend once, and I'm in contact with her, and she's on my list to go on trips with us. So she'll be the young member of our senior group. So I'm looking forward to do more birding with her, and yeah. I'm sharing as much information as I can with her.
You might have to add me to your list.
Okay, that'll be good. That'll be wonderful.
Thank you so much to, oh, not yet. Thank you, Etta and Kente. I loved hearing how you made that connection to birding. It makes me think about how we have a unique opportunity, especially in this time, to reckon with and reclaim the narrative that this is not something for Black folks. We can actively dismantle and disrupt that narrative by leaning into what the universe calls us to, and doing that without apology and bringing others along with us. I love the piece around bringing others along, whether that's young folks or just other women that we know. I'm also super impressed by your depth of knowledge. I don't know what a warbler is, but I'm going to Google it now. And that birding can indeed happen in our cities and our urban communities. Again, just tackling that myth that Black communities are not part of outdoor recreation or activities in the natural world. And so as we celebrate women, let's lift up the many dimensions of our stories. So many dimensions, most of which we don't even know about yet. Particularly those dimensions and lessons and life experiences of our elders. Thinking about what their stories can teach us and how we can tap into their experiences, their courage, and their wisdom. Yes, we do work in the kitchen. We can tear up the kitchen. We do work in nurturing our families and communities, but Black women also do work in boardrooms, in activism, in laboratories and hospitals, in performing and visual arts, and then today, nature and the environment. Our brilliance as Black women knows no bounds. And so speaking of our brilliance, I wanted to take this opportunity to share some of my poetry with you. And so I will move through the pieces by giving you a little bit of context and then begin reading. And so this first piece, you know, I was just talking about the brilliance of Black women, and we have some things that we can do better than anybody. One of which is, I won't call it reading somebody, but just letting folks know what the deal was. And so this first piece reflects that. Each of the pieces I read today will be a different kind of love letter to Black women. And so this one has that special spice in mind, and it's called You Gon' Feel Me. You gon' feel me today. You will face my face and I, my eye, and breathe my breath. You will. Won't be no leaving. I won't let you get away. Ain't no channel you can change. Oh, you gonna feel me today. You'll part my hair while I sit on the floor, sucking on a plum, tender-headed, tired, and poor. You'll grease my scalp exposed at angles and curves. I'll introduce you to Big Mama and show you my last good nerve. You will face and accept what you know you can't know. Reach the end of defensive. Eat the seeds that you've sown. You will be my witness. You'll concede to the truth. No burden of justification. You will listen without proof. You'll move past fascination, settle in and defy the temptation of favor, the comfort of lies. You'll bite down on a toothpick and function through fear. Start dinner in the morning and knit a scarf out of tears. We'll step barefoot in the circle, spread nothing until it grows into wet, eager blossoms that drown out our woes. You'll get popped by hot lard. You'll keep the truth to yourself. Collect the bitter pills you swallow in a jar on the shelf. You'll get low sick and high step. Put Epsom salt in the tub. Soak the sad out your feet and beg for strength from above. You'll feel me and suffer me, because I'm here to stay, to blow your clenched palm open, leave you dumb, numb, and frayed. Won't be no observing, group diatribe, or safe space, just the raw burning legacy of open wounds under lace. You will feel me here, from your toes to your teeth. You'll vibrate and ache from the fever beneath. I've had a bowl full of freedom and a mouth full of funk. I just got a fresh bottle and I'm gonna sip till I'm drunk. So stick around if you're ready. Catch what I'm throwing away. Won't be no soft peddling. Oh, you gonna feel me today. So my next love letter was something I wrote in this time. I kind of am calling the art, the poetry, and the collage I'm doing right now is part of my COVID chronicles. Because this time has done something to us. It has shifted something in us. And I have to believe that that's not bad. I have to believe that good will come out of that. And so this is another nuanced love letter in terms of allowing yourself, particularly Black women who are called to be strong more often than not, to the point that I know I have often taken it on as my core duty to be strong before anything else. And I have come to believe through a lot of hard work and mentors that that's not the best way to be, and it's certainly not the best way to heal. So this is a request. It's some unsolicited advice for Black women, for humans, and it is called Soften. Soften. Don't withhold your hope. Simply soften to the opportunity. You are so braced, so postured for the resurgence of pain that it is etched in and around your every expectation. And that makes sense. It is, after all, based on a true story. But better will not take its first breath until you soften. Soften. Make all the room and take all the space. Soften. Make this wild wind your companion. How badly do you want it, them, us? How badly do you want to be different? Smile and walk in honor of love imagined. You will fail and you will find fault and you will freeze. But soften, because surrender is only for the strong. So you must soften to the sacred promise of the unseen, the uncertain, the undiscovered. And then lend your wings to your comrades so they too may see the divine unknown as a homecoming for us all. This third and final piece is a love letter in that sometimes no one can make me feel as calm and grounded as my sisters. And when I say my sisters, that could be my birth sisters, but it can also be our chosen family, our homegirls, even the homegirls that we don't see for years at a time. And you reach out in crisis, you reach out when you're at your lowest because you know they can bring you some stillness the way that no one else can. So I offer this final piece, which is called Assurance. When I watch my sisters spinning gold, despite the cracking and crying of the sky, I remember there is no way to do it right, but to just stay breathing, to claim ascension through survival. Be still in the storm. You too are safe and secure. Cherished by hands you never knew, hands browned by sun and softened by shore. Proceed like you are held, because we are moving like baby birds in a nest filled with gifts. This is no mirage. We are the weavers and the keepers, the lovers and builders of bloodlines drawn in soil and seizure. There is a heart at the heart of you, burrowed within, below prayers of kin, under thickets of despair. And she is waiting there with a message from our mother about the nature of untruths and the quick pivots of fortune, the devastation of family. And I am there, clearing gutters and planting flowers, holding your fury much, much closer than my own. This is the walk. These are the steps towards each other, steps toward the end. And I am there. I am here until the devil is done fighting. Thanks for listening, y'all. So we're going to shift back to our program. As a reminder, today's Sunday sermon is about celebrating women. Did y'all know that the Federation Forest was actually founded by women? Let's learn a little bit about the history of the park from Char. Take it away.
I'm Charlene Lisney, and I am a member of the General Federation of Women's Clubs of Washington State. I'm currently serving on our Federation Forest Committee, which advocates for the park. I joined a junior club in 1974 when I was the mother of one young son, and it was a chance for us to get out and leave the kids at home and do some community service. General Federation of Women's Clubs, it's an international organization for women, and we're dedicated to community service through volunteer work. We have different program areas: the arts, natural resource preservation, education. We promote healthy lifestyles and civic involvement. We were founded in 1890, and our headquarters is in Washington, D.C. We have a lovely house on N Street, and we have clubs throughout the 50 states as well as 15 countries across the globe. There are approximately 80,000 members in total. The story of Federation Forest is a real tribute to the early club women. In the early 1920s, an Everett school teacher named Jean Caithness Greenlees, who had moved here from Wisconsin, approached our then state president because she wanted to preserve a forest of old growth trees for future generations to study and enjoy. She was the daughter of timbermen, and they had moved here from Wisconsin. When she went home to visit her hometown, she was just really disappointed to see that those grand old monarchs had all been stripped from the landscape, and she didn't want that to happen here in Washington. So she was a teacher, of course, and so she had an interest in having kids and the general public learn about an ecosystem that was vanishing quite rapidly. Esther Maltby was our state president from 1925 to 1927, and she was very eager to take on the project that Jean had proposed. She appointed Jean to be our forestry committee chairman, and Jean hit the road running to raise funds to purchase a tract of trees, of old trees. Well, she went out in the community and she was giving a lot of presentations. Just by chance, Stephen Mather, who was the founder and first director of the National Park Service, happened to be in town, and he caught one of her presentations. He really thought her enthusiasm for the project and the project at whole was a wonderful idea. So he pulled out his personal checkbook and wrote her a check for $500 right on the spot. Well, that got the process going. Then club women began selling Save a Tree pins for $1 each. And we've captured one of those. They finally found one of them. We looked high and low for it, finally found one of those. The other option was for donors to purchase a bronze plaque and have their name engraved on it, and that would be placed on a tree of their choice. These were pounded into the big old trees with about 6-inch nails. Well, it took them about 2 years, and they raised $25,000 to purchase a 62-acre stand of old trees along the Snoqualmie Pass. Mrs. Maltby had documented the story of the park, and she recounted that a representative from the timber company shared with her that they never would have offered the women the option to purchase this property if they really thought that they could carry out the terms of the option. Well, that park didn't stay open for very long because in 1938, tragedy struck. The adjacent property had had a lot of logging done to it, and it left these big old trees vulnerable to wind throw. And a number of them fell across the highway, creating quite a safety hazard. So the park was ordered to be shut down and closed, and then the property was sold. The funds from those sales were held in trust until another suitable property could be located. It took a few years to find that property, but eventually they found that land and the current location was purchased. This park opened on July 16th of 1949. When they were breaking ground for this park, the ladies were out with a shovel in their high heels and their fur-trimmed coats. Love it. Can't you imagine? And I'm sitting here on the Maltby bench that was unveiled at the time of the park dedication. It was to honor the work that Esther Maltby had done. Even following her term as our state president, she continued to follow it through the years. So they wanted to appreciate her, and you'll notice too that there's a trail named in her name. Federation Forest also has an interpretive center that was built in 1964. That was from the funds of the estate of Catherine Montgomery. She left $89,000. She has an interesting past. She was a founding faculty member at Western Washington University, very serious conservationist, and loved to hike. She would grab a friend and hit the trails, and they were just out in the wet and cold and stayed overnight in these old cold cabins and things. But she is the first to envision the Pacific Crest Trail, if you're familiar with that. That was back in 1926. They call her the mother of the Pacific Crest Trail. Well, General Federation of Women's Clubs hasn't wavered in their support of this park since it started in 1934. We continue to donate. We've donated a number of maintenance equipment items, educational supplies, because classes from various schools used to come up here when they did a lot of field trips out in the schools. And so we've always been ready to help when needed. Each year we make it a point to come up here, except we couldn't come this year. We do a cleanup of the garden beds outside the center in May sometime. And that's always a special time, and it gets our club members out, and we interact with the park staff, and it's just a lovely day. We always welcome new members who want to do community service. Public lands mean that we are taking seriously the idea of preserving natural resources and yet still making them available to the public so that they can get out and enjoy them. There's still opportunities to get out, and they're open spaces, and so if you're cooped up in a little apartment and you have the opportunity to get out in some of the public areas, the preserves or whatever they are, you do get a chance to see a different side of life. So we hope that you will come out and enjoy this park.
Thank you so much, Char. It's always great and inspiring to learn about the history of a place. We also want to really acknowledge and recognize that this history is incomplete. We know that the stories, the contributions, the layers of a place and a process and a people, especially Black, Brown, Indigenous folks, often go unknown or buried or unrecognized. And so we want to encourage you to continue to tune in to Sunday sermons, because we're going to have historians that are really digging into and unearthing a fuller history of our Washington state parks. So there'll be more to come on that. It's super exciting and super inspiring. And again, speaking of inspiring stuff, every Sunday sermon, we will plug a Black-owned business. And this week, we are going to do a shameless plug for Golden Bricks Events. Golden Bricks Events is a company that's working to address diversity, equity, and inclusion in the outdoors via special events like this one, and festivals such as Refuge Outdoor Festival. Refuge will host its very first virtual camp-in coming up September 18th through the 20th. You don't want to miss it. The weekend will be full of amazing workshops like Herbs for Self-Care. I know I need that one. Exploring the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, backpacking basics, a DJ battle. Okay, I'm so going to be there. And there'll be so much more. You want to make sure you grab a ticket and do as much or even as little as you'd like. And now to the good stuff, the ice cream. Sweet Alchemy and Intentionalist have teamed up to create this amazing collaboration, #WeAllScreamForRacialJustice. This includes a limited edition of ice cream flavors. How dope is this, y'all? We are proud to feature local small POC business ingredients and donate portions of that sale to nonprofits that are fighting racial injustice. So listen to these flavors, y'all. Brew the Right Thing, which is Fulcrum Coffee Roasters coffee ice cream with coconut caramel swirl from Jerk Shack, Seattle. History in the Baking, which is chocolate ice cream with a ganache swirl and cookies from Salvadorian Bakery. Vegan Do This Together, which is a vegan lemon coconut ice cream with off-the-res jam and vegan pie crust from the Pot Pie Factory. I want them all. They will be taking pre-orders until midnight tonight. And then there will be delivery and pickup September 11th and 12th. As we mentioned, a portion of the sales will go to racial justice organizations to include the Seattle Urban League, Northwest Immigrant Rights Project, Chief Seattle Club, and blockbyblock.org. So now is the time to take a walk with GirlTrek. You can also catch them at Refuge discussing what radical self-care means to them. Take it away.
Hi everyone, my name is Mikey and I am with GirlTrek.
And I'm Trina B, and I'm also here with GirlTrek.
And GirlTrek is one of the largest nonprofit organizations for Black women and girls. We like to encourage Black women and girls to practice radical self-care.
And one of the avenues of radical self-care is getting outdoors and hitting the trail. So we are out here today to talk to you a little bit about hitting the trails safely.
Yes, absolutely.
And we are also GirlTrek Adventure Squad leaders. What is GirlTrek Adventure Squad leaders, Mikey?
We are leaders that makes transformation for Black women to get out here in the outdoors and get moving. And today we are hitting the Win in the Woods loop today.
Mikey, how did you prepare for getting outdoors and hitting the trail today?
So the way that I prepared today is that I know that this is going to be, somewhat distance type of trail. So what I did was research it. I wanted to research the terrain, if it was rocky, if I needed to have boots that support my ankles, and I needed to see would I be able to get, cell phone services. And I did do a little research, and today I have my boots on. I have a pair of pants and a jacket. I have my water bottle. I have 2 resources of water. One's in my backpack. And also, if anything happens, I'm prepared because I have my first aid kit. And what is this? And my safety kit back here as well. How did you prepare?
One, we arrived early. So one way to avoid some of the trails getting crowded. Right now, the only thing that our community can do is get outdoors and hit the trails. And so a tip is to arrive early. You can avoid the crowds. You can also find parking. Also, we learned that you need a Discovery Pass. So knowing which parking permits that you need to have is also important to prepare. I have my source of water. And I'm wearing a dry fit shirt, so it's important to not wear cotton shirts when you're out on the trail. As you start to sweat, dry fit is more safety for you. And
I have a whistle in case of emergencies.
Yes.
And then guess what, Trina? I Googled the local ranger stations and emergency rooms in hospitals in case something else happens.
Awesome.
And did you bring a trash bag?
I forgot my trash bag, but I figured you would have the trash bag.
I do have it. Because anything we take with us on the mountain, we got to take off with us.
Yes.
And
also, fruit snacks. You have fruit snacks.
I do have snacks.
I have fruit snacks.
I'm a diabetic, so in case my sugars get low, I have something for me to take as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So we will safely keep a safe distance between each other. There's always going to be someone in the front and someone in the back. So
and if you see anybody, we always say, move to the right and say, howdy neighbor.
Howdy neighbor. And that is a clue to move to the right of the trail. And so you want to respect others on the trail and be able to share the space together.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go.
Okay, come on.
So this is my first time coming to
Federation
State Park.
This is also my first time as well.
So I love that we can come out here and explore it, scout it.
Yes.
And so we can do what? Bring our community back.
Bring our community out, absolutely.
You know what popped up on my Facebook memory yesterday?
What?
When we took the little trekkers to Twin Falls.
Oh, to see the waterfalls. Yes. Yeah, and that was a big group we had.
It was a big group, and I feel like that was one of our most memorable hikes. Taking, what did we have, 15?
Yeah, I think we had 15 to 20 people, yeah.
Yeah. First timers.
Mothers, daughters, we even had infants on the trail.
Yes. And we have came so far from that first hiking experience.
Oh, look, Trina, we should look at this in case, since our cell phones don't work, we have a map in case we get lost.
Yes.
So that's good. Take a photo of that. Never know. And it's also good to find out the history.
Absolutely.
About what land are we walking on, and always pay homage to it. Someone was telling me that this trail was founded by a woman.
I see that right here. The nature trails within this pack have been developed as a memorial to Fred Cleater, conservationist and forester, working with the Washington State Federation of Women's Clubs. That's
awesome. Yeah. All right. So you got the picture?
Yes.
Okay. Let's keep going. So it's been a while since we catch up.
I know, we haven't walked since pre-COVID days.
Right, so what is that looking like? How do you find, since all the craziness is going on, how do you find your Black joy out of all this?
Yes, I have been an essential worker.
Okay.
I have been working this whole time, basically managing a lot of other people's stress while trying to maintain my own sanity. So therefore, I have found serenity in being outdoors, hiking. The gyms are closed, but I'm also not a fan of gym anyway. The weather in the Pacific Northwest is beautiful.
Yes.
So for me, I have been finding myself outdoors.
Nice.
And when I say finding myself, like reconnecting with who I am.
Oh.
And taking a pause from organizing. As you know, we're normally planning for other women's adventures and looking out for other people all the time.
Absolutely, can get busy.
And yeah, so we have been busy the last 4 years.
Yes.
So this is our first season that we haven't actually had organized GirlTrek walks
Right.
and sisterhood, but it has given us a pause for ourselves.
Yes.
And I think I'm so grateful for that. And so what about you? I know you are our Miss Fitness Queen. And you're normally in the gym 5 in the morning. So and teaching cycling classes.
Right.
3 days a week. So how does
my Black joy look? How is it coming
how
up?
are you finding Black joy now in your health journey? And
Well, I would honestly say that with all the madness and crazy that's going on in this world, I actually like to try to practice giving out joy, you know, giving love and supporting. But since I don't have the interaction with people anymore, I love, like you said, I love working out at the gym and stuff. I actually had to create my own gym in my living room that I actually get myself up at 5 o'clock like I'm actually going to the gym, but I'm really going downstairs and I do a 30-minute workout and I make sure that I push myself to the limit to do it. And then also it gave me a chance to start realizing what I'm eating that was wrong. I'm starting to eat more healthy. I'm being more conscious of what I put in my body and my mouth. And I'm really feeling a difference. And this really actually slowed me down a lot and get things more in perspective and get more focused. And so when this COVID matter is done, I'll be able to, show up and give my best to my students.
preparing for
The election coming, yes, wow.
GirlTrek wants to have women mobilizing and walking to the polls to vote. And not only that, but just to be there as ambassadors for the elders, assisting others, and really going back to where you had to stand in line all day. And like everything that they fought for us to freely vote.
Okay.
Is what we're going to go back to. So we have 21 days to prepare ourselves, starting August 3rd. Are you in?
I am so in, and I can't wait. So you have me. I'm a phone call away.
Memorable moment with GirlTrek has been Daughters of.
Oh yes. Okay. I actually participated in the Daughters of, and I was so excited about that because it made me go back to my mom and sit down with her, and I wanted to learn about her mother and her mother before her and stuff. Yes. So what I did come up with was, my name is Emcee, and I am daughter of Cheryl, daughter of Livonia, daughter of Marcelite, and daughter of Birdie.
Wow. How many generations back
that
was
was 4 generations.
Wow.
And I have pictures to go along with each woman too.
That's beautiful.
Yes, and that's something that I want to pass down to my daughter as well.
Yes.
So yes. I'm glad that it started an open conversation.
Absolutely.
It created stories that I've never heard about my grandmother and her mother and stuff, and I found out how we even got to Seattle, because really nobody's really from Seattle. So they told me the how they went from Texas and they migrated up to Seattle, Washington due to the base they had, the Bremerton shipyard. They came to the shipyard to work. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I love that about GirlTrek, that I feel like they have us unlayering and uncovering our history in our own families.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Trina, daughter of Prudy, daughter of Thursa, daughter of Effie.
Oh,
and
wow.
I just learned my mother's name and her mother's name last year.
Oh, for the first
I didn't even
time?
know their names.
Oh.
That's how disconnected we are and have lost some of that history. So now I love that GirlTrek is putting us in positions to where I'm asking my mother more questions while she's still here and alive. Tell me more. Tell me about your mother. We're now getting ready to go and research my her mother's birthplace, which is native tribal land in Wyoming. So I'm just like learning all this now. Like I want to learn what my bloodline.
Right.
You know, like we're warriors. We're
queens, absolutely.
You know,
because at the end of the day, they paved the ways for us to be here. You know.
Right.
So when I graduated, I paid honor to my grandmother and her mother before that because they didn't get a chance to have the chance to go to college.
Wow.
I know they had to work so hard. So they worked hard for us to attend college. So
wow.
my diploma was honoring them.
Wow.
That is so funny that she said that because my favorite episode of Daughters of was the one with Nikki Giovanni and Angela Davis. OMG. Nikki is my girl. I loved her. I wish I would have known about her a long time ago.
Right.
But she gave us the most encouraging words. She was very kind, but at the same time, she kept it very real.
Yes.
She didn't hold back. Angela Davis, that was so part of the Black Panther movement. I learned so much about that, how she was really a hero. Like she was really for us. And the way during that time, how she went to jail for all those years for that. It was so heartwarming that these women really paved the way for us, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
Right. Right. And I love that GirlTrek has that social justice. I love everything about GirlTrek. I love the social justice piece.
Mm-hmm.
So
what was your favorite one?
My favorite one was the episode where it was the daughters of Betty Shabazz, who was Malcolm X's wife, and Coretta Scott King, Martin Luther King's daughter.
Wow.
The two daughters. And like sharing stories of their mothers being friends and
hold on, they were friends?
They were friends.
Wow.
Yes. They were able to lean on each other. I mean, both their husbands were historic heroes.
Yeah. Right.
So it's like, and so to be the children of that and to be wives of that, and so to hear from the women was amazing. Like I know I definitely had tears in my eyes.
They healed from each other. Huh?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of goosebump moments hearing this history, and I feel like GirlTrek is the only organization that was having these conversations and bringing.
Because we're not going to find it in the history books.
No, we're not. Right? So they're teaching us our own history.
Right.
And so the Daughters of has been such a powerful movement.
Yeah. And shout out to Chantel. Chantel did her thing on this one.
Yes.
What does public lands mean to me? It means to me that this is where I belong. This is where I started. This is an open space. This is where I take in all this beautiful scenery and nature.
What does public lands mean to me? It is new, uncharted territory. That means I have the freedom to explore and expose my community. I love to find new trails. I love to use different apps to find a new trail to go check out. And then what I do is I bring my friends and family back to come check it out as well.
Many thanks to Trina and Micaiah. It was super helpful to hear the steps for preparing for the hike, what to pay attention to, look for, research. My daughter's recently pushed me since COVID. We're not doing gyms and things like that. So she's pushed me to commit to getting out on some trails with her. And having these tips is going to really make me look like I know what I'm doing. But more importantly, it's really going to help me model radical self-care for my daughter in a way that I didn't know at her age. My mother didn't, my grandmother didn't. And really just walking out that commitment to take time for self and for each other, to move and to be with and in nature, and to just make some incredible memories together. GirlTrek is the largest health movement in the country for Black women. They're incredible trailblazers in healing and wellness, and healing and wellness that centers the unique needs and interests and passions of Black women. I continue to see campaigns, their initiatives, their networks, and how those are really catching fire and building across the nation. Using movement and walking to help us as Black women safely grieve, connect, and really reclaim our right to thrive. The ability to share our stories with each other or just sit in silence with other sisters really does create a special and sacred space. And I continue to be inspired by their generosity of spirit and their fierce, fierce love of Black women. During Sundae Sermon, we also take a moment to highlight nonprofits that are doing pivotal work in our community. Today, I'd like to spotlight the People's Assembly. Originating in August of 2014, the People's Assembly, which was formerly known as Tacoma Stands Up, was formed in response to a call for solidarity with organizers in Ferguson, Missouri, Ferguson, Minnesota, following the shooting of Mike Brown. TPA's first action involved organizing a demonstration in downtown Tacoma to protest police brutality and anti-Black violence. This sparked a series of ongoing efforts ranging from vigils to community forums, arts and advocacy events, and has now gone into summer-long campaigns and camps. These efforts have culminated into an ongoing movement of creative resistance and community power building for justice and freedom. So we've dropped their donation link in the chat, and we'll also make sure to share it out after the event. Before we wrap up, we have a very special performance from Gretchen Yanover. Welcome back to Sundae Sermon, Gretchen. Let's take a trip to the park. Take it away.
I'm Gretchen Yanover, and this is my electric cello. I play electric and acoustic cello, and I live in Seattle, grew up in Seattle. I have been playing cello, let's see, I'm about to be 48. So I've been playing cello for 38 years. I started at age 10 in 6th grade at Eckstein Middle School, public school in Seattle. I started playing cello in public school, and my dad plays jazz piano for fun, and we had a piano in our house, but taking instruments or private lessons wasn't something really in our realm or something that was affordable for us growing up. But when we had the opportunity in public school, my parents signed us up, and I actually thought I was going to be taking a beginning winds class, and so I was surprised to be in beginning strings. But it was the first time I was actually in a public school with another person who was the same color skin as me. So there was another girl in the class, besides my sister, so there was another girl in the class. We immediately found each other and sat together. And when the teacher was asking us what instruments we would like to play, I knew I didn't want to play violin, and it's either maybe because everyone else was doing it, and I already feel like, I think even at that age, I felt like other, and there was not a reason to do the same thing as everyone else. And the teacher asked if we wanted to play cello, and I did not actually know what a cello was at that point. But the other girl agreed, and we said, okay, so we played cello. And then luckily in public school at that time in the 80s, and I think even still now, there are instruments that the school provides. And so the school actually provided an instrument for me to keep at home and to play at school. And as soon as I started plucking even just the open strings of that cello, I was hooked. And so that was the beginning of my love at first sound with cello. This first piece has a working title of Leaves in the Breeze. There's a longer story behind that, but maybe I can talk about that later. So what does Sunday mean to me? So I would say that Sunday is a time of rest, of togetherness, and of reflection. This piece is called Let's Begin Each Day. It's on my third album, Bridge Across Sound. Celebrating women, and what does that mean to me? I have to say it's pretty amazing actually sitting here right now with two amazing women who are looking at me, who are in charge of video and organizing this event. And so I'm very grateful to have my voice amplified, and to have this focus and draw toward getting women's voices out in the world. This next piece is not yet on an album, and it does not yet have a title, so maybe people will be inspired to come up with some words themselves. So what do public lands and parks mean to me? This is huge because, for one thing, the idea of humans owning private land is something that I just can't even quite wrap my mind around, and I don't even want my child to wrap her mind around that. So this gift of having public lands for everyone that we can all enjoy and is so precious is really important to keep vital, and I am glad to be here to bring attention, I hope, to that as well. Well, right now people can find me on my website, GretchenYanover.com, and on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I am Gretchen Yanover Cello. And I have just finished recording another album that will be out around the holidays.
Thank you so much for that beautiful offering, Gretchen. It was soothing and powerful, raw and mysterious, like so many of the magnificent Black women in my life. It truly was a tribute to the celebration of women. This has been an amazing and special time, y'all. Informative and educational, in terms of the history of Federation State Park, the hiking and the birding tips, the insights from the women. But I'm also just so inspired by the brilliance, the talent, and the joy of the women that were featured today. It actually calls me forth personally to not only keep celebrating women, but to keep celebrating myself. Despite the pandemic, the violence against Black people, the unrest, and the grief, we can choose to celebrate. And we can do that in lots of ways. We can do it in stillness or in movement. We can do it through sound, and we can also do it through silence. So we are coming up to the end of our show. We want to first thank again the sponsors, Conservation Northwest, the Wilderness Society, Washington Trails Association, Seattle Audubon, the National Endowment for the Arts, Washington State Parks Foundation, and Washington State Parks. As we close, we also want to thank Etta, Kinte, Trina, Maikia, Shar, and Gretchen for sharing their talents and their passion with us today. We also must, and I mean must, thank the team that helped make this happen. Monica, Kiwi, Siobhan, and Michaela. A special thank you from me, because I wouldn't have gotten through this without you. I hope you enjoyed today's celebration as much as I did. I'm taking away the energy and the intention of women, past and present, with me into the remainder of my day. I really, really hope you join me in that. The second Sundae sermon is coming up on September 20th, and we're going to be celebrating activism. And this too will also cap off the Refuge Festival weekend. So don't miss it, y'all. You got to go on in, RSVP, and grab your ticket for both now. Like not now, but right now. Also, don't forget to fill out the survey and be entered into a chance to win a free Discovery Pass. We're going to end with a throwback performance from Kamari, Bright. Thank you again for joining us this Sunday for another Sunday sermon. We celebrated Black women and hopefully enjoyed some of our favorite frozen treats. I'm gonna sign off for now. Peace. Take good care.
And the last poem that I want to read is called Resurrection Wonder. So I wrote this poem for Resurrection Sunday, Easter Sunday. And it's really an ode to Black women. have such a profound love for black women. I've been raised by black women, and I've grown myself through the example of black women, so this was a poem for them. A thing cannot resurrect without first being buried, without having tasted the difference between topsoil and 6 feet down dirt as it is hurled over your name, without having breathed in the darkness because there is no air in the depths that a weary soul can sink to. No, a thing cannot resurrect until it has known firsthand that the fire that forges steel and purifies gold must know you too. And you may find yourself buried, skin singed in flames as bright as Arizona's soil, but remember not to fear the fire. For you are Phoenix. You cleanse yourself in heat, and you may find the roots cut from beneath your very feet, oceans away from your land, generations removed from your history, but do not worry, for your greatness is like the word of God. It is written in every strand of your DNA. You were written to be the crowning achievement of creation, the last being molded from God's hand and the first women to grace the earth. You were written to be the safekeepers of culture, the backbones of community. There is healing and home programmed in your instinct. You were written to be supported and strengthened through your sisters. There's a divine reason why our bodies sink to the flow of other queens. You were written to be complete, to be wise, to be cared for, to be awe-inspiring, to be soft, to be loved, to be heard, to be uplifted, to be healed, to be seen, but also to be tested and tried, revised and refined, because the light you possess grows brighter with every dark moment it pierces through, because you cannot ascend to your highest high without first conquering your lowest low, because in order to resurrect, you will have to lay your smallness to rest. But when you do rise, and you will rise from the dirt, depths, flames, cuts, and trials, my God, will your story be a wonder. Thank you.